So MSNBC is making it their business to try to shiv Bernie in the side before he even announces in 2020. I think he is going to run, even though the establishment is lined up against him. And I think that ultimately the establishment lining up against him will help him in a weird way, in a similar way that the Republican establishment aligning against Trump kind of helped Trump. But MSNBC is corporate Democrat central, and they're not serious. They're ridiculous people. And here's a good example of that. You're going to see Ari Melber has a thing on his show called Fallback Friday, and look at what one of the guests says about Bernie.
Who else needs to fall back?
Bernie Sanders, fall back. Your year was 2016 and it really wasn't. Please get away from us. I just think it's like fetch. Whoa. It's not going to happen. He also, I think you're disheveled, you're unlikable, and you're pushy. And I don't think you should be leading anybody. If you couldn't control your campaign and what your employees were doing and harassing and paying women unfairly in your campaign, I don't know why you would lead a country or think you can. And we saw with the flipping of the House and everyone voting, everyone's really excited for young female candidates, especially women of color, and we need men to get as excited about women as women are, and that's the only way to do real change. And I'm kind of sorry, guys, but I'm just like sick of old white dudes. Like, go away.
Okay.
Zero pushback. Nobody on the panel, Ari Melber, the host, nobody was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. I'm sick of old white dudes, just go away. I don't know at what exact point it became socially acceptable to say stuff like that. And, you know, everybody just has to be like, yes, historically, white men have been the oppressors, so now it's okay to act like all old white men are the same. Yes, there's no difference between fucking Dick Cheney and Bernie Sanders. They're all the same, they're all equal, because old white man equals powerful. We're tired of them being powerful, so all white men just need to go away. I don't know what you want me to call that other than bigoted. That's the definition of bigoted. Now, listen, I get it. I'm not a dumbass. I'm not dense. I'm not gonna disregard the historical imbalances, and I'm not gonna act like it's not true that historically white men, particularly old white men, have had all the power, because historically, that is true. You know what else is also true? They're not all the same. They're not all the same. And you're not allowed to casually act like that's the case, and act like nobody should call you on that bullshit-ass line, because that's exactly what the fuck it is. It's a bullshit-ass line. We need to stop with this fucking belief in collective guilt. You know, as if, like, I'm responsible because of the fucking, like, British Empire, which existed before I was born. They did fucked up shit. So now white men or old white men today are like, you have to atone for the fucking sins of people you never fucking knew and never agreed with. It's just casual, like, yeah, fuck them. No, you're not allowed to say, you rightly are not allowed to say that about anybody else. So why should you be allowed to say that about old white men? Jesus Christ, man. Now notice everything else you said. He's disheveled, unlikable, and pushy, and he couldn't control his campaign. What did I fucking tell you about this story? What did I tell you? The New York Times wrote a smear article against Bernie saying there was sexual harassment and sexual assault in his campaign and women weren't paid equal. Okay, first of all, to the idea that women weren't paid equal, the way that everybody's salary was negotiated was one-on-one. So when you have one-on-one negotiations, you're going to have pay inequalities by definition, not just between genders, but within genders. Everybody's going to get paid different because everybody's going to demand a different number. But as soon as that was brought to the attention that there were inequalities between the men and women, they immediately fixed it. Like that. Immediately. So that's not a story. If anything, it's a story in their favor because they believe in their values so much, they're willing to overturn the way they even did shit in order to make it equal. Now, in terms of the other aspect of the story, they admit in the article Bernie had no idea. Nobody even told him. How is Bernie supposed to fix something when he's not even told that it's happening? What, do you want him to have fucking ESP? And if he doesn't have it, then we get to smear him and look down on him and accuse him, either subtly or not so subtly, of being a sexist misogynist, even though he has the most pro-woman voting record in the goddamn Senate? I'm sick of the smears against him. Now, I got good news, though, guys. Here's the good news. What you just heard from her, that only represents 8% of the Democratic Party. 92% of the Democratic Party loves Bernie Sanders. Only 8% dislike Bernie Sanders. Bernie is more liked within the Democratic Party than any other politician in the Democratic Party is liked within the Democratic Party. So he has the heart of the Democratic base. He has the heart of the people in this country, and all these smear attacks are only going to help him. Because even though other people might not say out loud what I just said about how that was bullshit, people are thinking it. Because you know what? It is bullshit. And finally, I'll say this. The reason why those young women of color succeeding was so wonderful was not solely because they're women of color. There are Republican women of color. Should we cheer if they get elected? I'm certainly not going to do that. Why? I don't give a shit about the identity of the people. I care about the policies. So the reason why, I mean, what a gross mischaracterization of why it's so great that these young women of color won. The reason why it was so great is because their ideologies were wonderful. I'm a co-founder of Justice Democrats. 7 of the seven Justice Democrats that went to Washington, D.C., women of color. 7 out of 7. Now, am I supposed to act like if, let's say, 2 of the 7 were white males, that I'm supposed to be, oh, I'm ashamed that 2 of them are white males. No, they're good on the policies. That's what matters. So what a gross mischaracterization of the reality of the political situation. I would never cheer if it's a Republican with odious ideas who happens to be a woman of color who gets elected. I'm going to be against that, not because she's a woman or a woman of color, but because I disagree with the policies. By the same token, to act like, oh, well, that's obviously the reason why these Democrats were winning is because they were just women of color. No, the reason why they're winning is because their policies are awesome. And they happen to be women of color, which is awesome and just as great as if anybody else gets elected and has the right policy ideas. So, and final thing is, a lot of these candidates who won are from the same ideological strain as Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders, they would admit, and everybody admits, he's the leader of this new social democratic wave in the Democratic Party where people are fighting for what the Democrats should have been all along. So he's the godfather of the resurgence of this new ideology taking over the Democratic Party, and he gets zero credit for it because he's an old white man, and old white men have been in charge for so long, and go away. Disgusting, stupid, and Ari Melber should be fucking ashamed of himself for letting that pass as if, oh yes, here on MSNBC we agree. Fuck Bernie Sanders. Do we all agree? Yes, fuck Bernie Sanders. Let Shiv, the only politician who's probably going to succeed in getting everybody health care and free college and ending the wars. Agreed? Agreed. I hope those corporate checks clear and they're real nice.